سلام، وقتتون بخیر. خب سوار بر کروز هستیم، میخوایم بریم منطقه تاوزن آیلند رو ببینیم. دیروز اینجا آفتابی بود و خب ما میخواستیم که بلیط بگیریم برای کروز، ولی ساعتی که رسیدیم در واقع بلیط‌ها سولد اوت شده بود، از قبل فروخته شده بود، بنابراین موکول شد به امروز صبح و همونجور که میبینید بارون خیلی شدید هم گرفته و من کاملا خیس شدم. بریم یه چرخ بزنیم ببینیم که چرا به اینجا میگن تاوزن آیلند یا هزار جزیره. و همونطور که میبینید این پرچم امریکا و کانادا روی کروز پشت سر من هست، به خاطر اینکه این منطقه کاملا منطقه مرزیه. حتی توی این نواحی وقتی چرخ میزنید ممکنه که وارد خاک امریکا بشی، ولی خب در واقع اونجا بهتون اعلام میکنن که اگه پاسپورت ندارید یا ویزای امریکا ندارید بعد از این مسیر برگردید. بریم ببینیم چه خبره. کروز داره از کنار اسکله فاصله میگیره و این آب رودخانه سن لوران هست که به اینجا میاد و همونجور که توی بک‌گراند میشنوید داره به فرانسه هم اعلام میکنه، بخاطر که کانادا به حال زبان رسمیش هم انگلیسی هست هم فرانسه و اول به انگلیسی اعلام کرد در مورد منطقه و توصیه‌های ایمنی و الان داره به فرانسه اعلام میکنه.
Retirez les gilets de sauvetage de l'entreposage uniquement si les membres de l'équipage swim right past the tour boat. I've even heard of them swimming through the shipping channel on the St. Lawrence Seaway.
کافتریای کوچولوه اینجا که کسی اگه بخواد چیزی بخره میتونه از اینجا بگیره و روی همین صندلی همینجا بشین و حالشو ببره در اصطلاح.
Some people put a fridge in their boathouse because heaven forbid you have to walk all the way to your cottage for a beer. I've even seen boathouses with patios on the roof. Right now, we have islands on the port side to our left, and the mainland on our starboard side. Near the mainland, you'll see a cottage with a red roof on Red Horse Island, which has 5 tiny man-made islands surrounding it. Look adjacent to Red Horse Island at the long point of land. The Howe Island ferry docks there. You might see it crossing to the landing on Howe Island, where there's a cottage with a green roof. The ferry has just enough room for 3 cars. It has no power or steering system because underwater cables pull it across the channel. Arch is an ancient granite ridge that creates a natural bridge between the Canadian Shield and the Adirondack Mountains in New York. The Mohawk called it the bones of the mother. On many of the islands, you can walk from moist, shady slopes where northern species grow to a hardwood forest that's typically found much farther south. The Thousand Islands are rich in biodiversity, including over 40 species at risk. Most people around here want the islands to stay just as they are. They're the heritage that we're leaving for future generations. We're about to sail through a gap between 2 islands just ahead. Indiana Island, the smaller one on the port side, and Bostwick Island on the starboard. Watch for the cottage on the port side. You can practically look in the windows. People have been building summer cottages here since the Victorian age. Those old family places have a way of growing over the years. Mine started out as a simple 3-room cottage, just big enough for my grandparents. They added a bedroom for their kids, then Dad added another for me and my brother. I put in a new boathouse and enlarged the kitchen. One generation at a time, that little cottage has turned into a spacious home. No matter what the date is, summer officially arrives the day we open up the cottage for the season. We bring everything we need and leave nothing behind. If we forget to buy something in Gennennock, we do without it. As long as we have food, bathing suits, and a stack of board games for those long summer evenings, we're set. The cottage has no air conditioning or heat, but who needs them? My grandparents made do with kerosene lamps and cooking over an open fire. It's a lot of work maintaining a cottage out here. There's no drinking water on the islands, so we have to haul it over from the mainland. We can't pollute the river, so sewage goes in a tank. Then someone has to empty it. Fortunately, there's a service that comes around and does that for us. We call it the honey barge. Owning real estate here is still a privilege, and I'll do whatever it takes to keep the Thousand Islands clean and healthy. After all, they belong to the world. Look for a stylish A-frame cottage on Stone's Throw Island. It's so close to the river you could open a window and jump right in. Just past Stone's Throw, there's a rocky little island. Sometimes it looks deserted, while others it's brimming with activity. It has a barbecue, a deck, and a pier. We call that Rent Me Island, because the owner rents it out to visitors. Who needs a cottage when you can just pitch a tent? The elegant summer place on the little island with the lovely footbridge is called La Vignette. Family members often wave at us or head up onto the bridge to do a little dance. It's become a bit of a tradition that started many years ago and continues whenever a tour boat passes. Another one of those traditions passed from generation to generation. La Vignette also has 2 flagpoles. One generally flies the red and white maple leaf flag of Canada, but the other flag changes constantly. If there's one up today, do you recognize it? Time for a shout out to your captain for navigating us through these islands so smoothly. The channels in the Admiralty group can be tricky to sail, but those of us who live on the river know the way quite well. Plenty of islanders reshaped their islands like that in the old days before we understood how this can damage the environment. Now that the Thousand Islands are a UNESCO site, it's illegal to make major alterations to the shoreline. Passing one of the most famous cottages in the Thousand Islands. It's on Hay Island, around 9 o'clock on our port side. The cottage with the unusual curved roof. Napoleon I wore a hat shaped something like that roof, so people call this cottage Napoleon's Hat. It's been charming visitors ever since it was built in 1913. Inside, Napoleon's Hat has 6-sided rooms with a foyer, dining room, and kitchen. You won't find a single right angle anywhere. the shore of Hay Island. That's where the Napoleon's Hat Cottage is. See the group of buildings with blue roofs? That used to be Camp Mohawk, a summer camp for girls in the mid-20th century. I remember sailing past it when I was a teenager. That was my first experience girl watching. Dad said my eyes were glued to the shore. Everywhere I looked, I saw girls boating, fishing, playing games, and sunning themselves. So we leave the shores alone. After all, people come here to reconnect with nature. One way of doing that is to go fishing in the open water just ahead. Called the 40-acre shoal. Sport fishermen from around the world gather there to fish for muskellunge, muskie for short. Trophy muskie weigh over 18 kilograms or 40 pounds. To catch one, they say you have to fish for 10,000 hours. They don't get that big by being dumb, but eventually you'll get lucky.
هم باد زیاده هم بارون. با عزتون برم پایین. رسیدیم به همون اسکله‌ای که سوار شده بودیم. این پایان سفر کروز ما بود و جای همگی خالی بود. وقتتون بخیر. حالا که کروز تموم شده بارون قطع شده. احتمالاً 1 ساعت دیگه هم آفتاب میشه. جا داره بگم اینم از شانس مایه.